On that video, fairly interesting, that you posted regarding quote unquote stupidity.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't gonna click on it, but I go, this has gotta be dumb, right? But I go, what the heck? It's in the feed. Let me have a look. Yeah. Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah, but it's also kind of sort of a propaganda piece as well. I feel like the way that it's worded and written is that kind of in the way that Left Lane found a way to put his point of view onto what's being said and take it in as though he has no blinders to what he may be participating in. I think it's kind of intentionally put out there in that way that anybody can project their point of view onto it, and if they have some sort of opposition to another group, can apply the ideas and concepts to that other group based on how generalized it is.
Good point. I was thinking that as well. And don't forget, Russell is in there too. So I have mixed feelings about him. Yeah.
Bertram Russell.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're putting out a lot of things like this into people's feeds, especially around what they're trying to do with the repositioning of the world at this current time, right? The propaganda and the storylines and the narratives and the characters that are playing out are being reinforced by propaganda campaigns through social media and, you know, normal media outlets, Reddit, threads, the bots that come on and chat with the propaganda, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I kind of I did like a Scooby Doo on that when I realized that during the last election, they're probably doing that before too, and I just didn't catch on it there, or they didn't have the way to do it. They're giving people individualized news. Like it's not like before you turn on the news, everybody sees one, one dogmatic point of view, right? And they try to get the most people to fit the message, right? But now it's crazy that they target you individually.
Yes.
It's insane. Yeah.
Everything is being tailor-made, and it's being backfilled too with AI having the ability to quickly use large language models to be able to fabricate stories. We saw the biggest implementation of this around the time that the pandemic was happening, where you could type in whatever number you wanted to and cases and hit enter, and Google would give you a news story that would populate giving that number of cases somewhere in the United States, as though, no matter what number, infinite amount of numbers that you could put in there, 3-digit numbers, they would have a story ready for you, tailor-made to reaffirm what you're looking for.
Yeah, I remember that. I did it myself. Yeah, any number you would put in, it would give you a story of that. Yep.
So they have the ability to do that, right? So it's like people think that they go in and they can just randomly search on something like Google, and they're not going to be curated exactly what is intended for them based on their trends, based on the conversations that they have on the phone, based on the searching that they do on their phone, based on the images that they spend more time looking at on their phone, because that information is being tracked, how quickly you scroll through certain images and how often you slow down for specific images. That's all being cataloged. It's all being taken note of so that you can be, you can have curated information that is going to draw your attention, whether it's catch your eyes, be able to capture you emotionally to respond. Yeah, all of that information.
Yeah, bro, it's scary. It's really scary. And the
And
part
it's
with
like,
and all that. Yeah.
like I went on to like Reddit. Like I'd never been really on Reddit or whatever, so I tried to start interacting with Reddit because I heard that it was very curated, and it 100% is. And it's fun. It's funny the things that it sends to you, and then the things that like people will interact with, and then the way that those comments are curated below, like images or news stories or something like that, where it's like you can have a very obvious um, planned protest that is run by government agents posing as though they're like white supremacists, Nazi people, whatever. And the people that want the narrative to be that there is this huge rise in that kind of activity in this country based on the current administration will see that image and not notice the very obviousness of the agent provocateurs, the government agents that are portraying these roles, and they'll just chalk it up to the rise of white supremacy and Nazism in the United States. And look at them, they're everywhere. They're behind every blade of grass. They're protesting in Boston now. Now they're in Minnesota. Look at them, they're everywhere. And it's like, the minute there's an agent provocateur within a protest that might be something that they would support, they'll spend hours detailing the shoes, the way that they hold their hands, the way that they act, blah, blah, blah. But then when it's an image that's very obvious that it's government agents, but it goes with the narrative that they want to believe in, they'll turn a blind eye to all of that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's they're very clever. They got the red team, blue team, but now it's gone way before that. Now they're playing like freaking Star Trek chess, right? With another level. Now they got the red team, blue team, pink team, light pink team, the other shade of pink team. It's like insane what they've done to the separation.
Yeah, it's separated, but it's also like there's entrapments for when you break out of like the level one programming, right? The level one programming is like, I guess, really what would be like the boomer programming, right? Left, right, uh, male, female, uh, Christian, atheist, atheist, creationist, whatever. These very simple um, dualities or dichotomies. That's like the level one Republican versus Democrat. This whole idea. And the minute you start to see maybe one of those things is a little bit more nuanced than you first thought, then there's another layer of protection to keep you very close to that first step away from breaking out of that, let's say, Democrat Republican, right? So then you've got the libertarian fence to catch you, to keep you in there, to keep you occupied for years within that realm, thinking, oh, well, if I can just vote in this third party libertarian, or if I can just vote in this third party Green Party person, right? And it keeps people locked into that pin. And it's just, I think somebody described it as like graduated animal farms, like the movie or the book Animal Farm, where you have these different animals that are in different cages, and there's different subsects or hierarchies to those animals. It's like as you break out of the first pen, there's another pen that's just a little bit larger outside of it, and that just keeps going outwards from the center, right? And they try to keep you as close to the center as possible, but there's always another fence. It's just going to be a little bit further for you to see that next fence. And some people don't even want to realize that once they broke out of the first fence, that there's a second, third, fourth, fifth ad infinitum, like fences to be walked through, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and it's a very good analogy, as a matter of fact. Yep. Get you into one out of one ideology, but before you know it, you're into another ideology and yet another one, and all of a sudden they're keeping your eyes away from the big picture. Yeah, exactly. Like that's yeah, I couldn't have said it better. And that's what's happening right now as we speak.
Yeah, the world is very ripe for that kind of thing because it's going to get very polarizing as we continue to progress. There's large scale changes that need to take place, like we've talked about in the past, right? There's large scale changes that are on the horizon, and they just need tipping points or incendiary um, things to take place in order for those larger steps to be implemented. Right? People don't tend to just sit back and passively accept some of these things. They have to be convinced emotionally and typically through fear that what's coming down is either necessary for their protection or necessary for um, the betterment of society in some way, shape, or form. But there usually has to be a tipping point and something that nudges people to these large scale changes um, that they wouldn't normally want because they typically go counter to um, really benefiting an individual, especially in terms of like freedom and liberty, because it tends to be more oppressive. And those changes are going to happen. They're in the works now, and we're seeing a setting up of that. And it's going to be an equalization. It's not going to be the rich are going to somehow be equalized so that the poor rise up and experience more favorable conditions and are lifted up into the wealth and prosperity because the rich are brought down. It's going to be an actually an opposite of that, and it's the rich are going to be the ones guiding this transition as the middle class or the upper middle class that are getting closer to having the wealth of these families that have had control and wealth and power for a long time. Those middle class and upper middle class people are just going to be pushed back down towards the poor end of the spectrum. And some of the poorer countries might be lifted slightly higher out of their poverty. Um, but it'll be an equalization of more two classes or three classes as opposed to you know the large graduation or gradation that we have currently.
That's what it looks like. It looks like they want to get rid of the middle class altogether. And like you said, it looks like they want to chop our standard of living over here and slightly raise the in Asia in that part.
Hmm.
But I think they went too far because how do people make ends meet in today's world? Like people have two, three jobs, right?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean they won't, right? This is when people will be forced to accept universal basic incomes and be forced to accept the technological automations that eliminate the necessity for um, their skill set in the society. So it's yeah, and once people passively or have no other choice but to accept this universal basic income or this government standard of what you will be able to receive, right, based on what your input is, which is never going to be enough to get out of where you're put as far as your class is concerned. um, that's when you start to see real control over individuals where humans within a corporation are considered human resources, right? There's a reason why large corporations you have a an employee ID number. You have metrics in which you need to meet, and if those metrics aren't met, then you can be forced to disciplinary action or get fired, or you can get promoted based on these metrics. You're just looked at as a cog in the machine. But we like to think that we aren't thought of that way from from a social standpoint within the country that we reside in, right? We like to think that we have the freedom and the liberty to do as we choose and also put in input to change the governance around us. But really, that's not the case, and it's going to get locked down even more and more the more that we accept these things from government. It's going to come with huge levers of control, because having the ability to reduce the amount of money that you're receiving or the amount of food that you're receiving can really get you to do what they want you to do or act as though they want you to act. So we're just in the first wave of this transition currently, I think.
Very, you can very well be true that what you just said, yeah. And speaking of resources, what does HR stand for?
Yeah, human resources. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
And it's actually the language is starting to shift in the corporate world to HC, human capital. So it's your
Human cattle. I mean, what capital?
capital, right? So you're looked at literally as capital or a resource. At least a resource is more natural than capital would be.
So, do you think at that point where the HR comes in, do you think that humanity will have any will left in them, or will they fight? Will they revolt at that time? Because that could be civil war time. Or will they just cower down, or they're too beat up and chemicalized and no will to resist?
Well, I mean, it depends. One, do they know what they're resisting against, and two, do they know what they're fighting for? Um, what is the ideology or the idea or concept that they would be fighting for? Where's this um, philosophical belief or whatever that they would be standing up for? That,
Well, at that point, what would it be? Freedom,
sure. I mean,
economical freedom.
freedom, liberty, but what does that mean though, right? What does that phrase even mean, and what does that end goal actually look like?
Well, at that point, I don't think they'll be actually thinking of that. I think it'll be civil war time, because if you don't have enough money to eat, not enough food, if you don't have enough money to pay your bills, I mean, at that point, society is desperate, right?
Yeah, but even then, like, who organizes to resist, and who's organizing those that are the resistance? And that question becomes, what, like I said before, what is the ideology that is backing or guiding them in their resistance towards whatever's coming down? And this is why typically, um, like civil wars or revolutions are fought, but the people that win in the end aren't necessarily the revolutionaries. Typically, revolutions are guided intentionally to get something to move, get the needle to move. I think they're going to try to, like, if I was in power and I had, wanted to dominate the world, I would certainly try to foster revolutions, especially right now. Foster and guide those revolutions. Just get people, you know, hyped up on some sort of vague ideological idea or concept to revolt. so that there can be disruption, and out of disruption I could certainly institute whatever changes I wanted at the end of it, no matter who wins.
Right, the Hegelian dialect. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now that would be true and works if there's one power, or it might work if there's a combination of powers working together. That might work as well.
Yeah, I mean it's a big club. There's different players at play, but they all understand. It's kind of like uh, I don't know. I don't know the best analogy to use, but it's kind of like they all understand what's going on, and they're vying for, maybe their idea to be ahead of somebody else's, but they're certainly not going to let somebody from outside come in and try to dictate, or they're certainly not going to allow um, somebody within their club to go down for somebody else to rise up that could threaten the whole club, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're definitely, as the Chinese say, I hope you live in exciting times. Well, we're living in exciting times. Now, the way I'm looking at it, and I could be wrong, right? The way I look at it in history is like we're at a point of a change of empires. Like the way you put it, the balancing of the needle, the balancing of powers. It's like I see it more of the needle was all in one way, in our way. The British Empire, um, Christian religion conquest from the West being us, and now the needle, as you say, is swinging back the other way. Like I think we're in, and it's not just me; it's a lot of economists. A lot of people are saying it's the fall of the American empire. And I don't know, like to me, it kind of looks that way. I'll be honest with you. All the signs are there: sexual depravity, economic failure, discrepancy between rich and poor, and so on and so forth. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
It's just a shifting, right? It's like once people start to realize too much of what's going on, you mix it up a little bit. The same way that I think the empire that ruled Egypt just transitioned to Rome, and that empire in Rome just transitioned into, it actually kind of split, but it's still the same, but it transitioned into the church and the bank. And the church and the bank, as one starts to go down a little bit, the other starts to rise, right? And people are starting to catch on to the banking stuff, and that's going to be our biggest switch up with this whole thing is readjusting the world's currencies and the world's banking systems, and it's just going to transition that into whatever. But it's been the same lineage for, throughout all of it. It's just transitioning. It's just going through another transitional phase. Rome never fell. All roads still lead to Rome. And Rome arose or moved from Egypt.
That is kind of in a way accurate because Egypt was there and then the Greeks went there. They were there for 300 years with that system. Then the Romans came in, overtook everything, and then yeah, Rome fell to the Germans, one side, and the other side fell to the Muslims. It's very complicated. But yeah, that transition, the way you're saying it, is to the east, and yeah, you're absolutely right. The British Empire and that. But what I'm saying and I hope I'm wrong about this is during all those transitions, we were living off the spoils of the people in the east, right? China, India, did a lot of harm to them. So I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's not like as clear cut as it would be one world order. I would argue for a couple of them, maybe three of them.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is everything's gotten to be so worldwide, right? But before the advent of airplanes, trade was all through shipping, right? And now it's air transport. You still have ships that are shipping things and whatnot. But since the advent of the internet, now you have instantaneous transactions that take place from average people across the world. And as that continues to open up and grow, it dissolves a lot of the borders, right? Which is why certain things are taking place, especially within this country regarding tariffs and things like that, right? So it's a repositioning of resources, everything's shifting back around, and everything's going to be established in more of a global way for global efficiency, quote unquote, global for global efficiency, right? It stands to reason that if there are natural resources, specifically in a country like the United States, that can be exploited, but we've found a way to import those things cheaper. Well, if we start to equalize the labor costs, then it would stand to reason that we need to reestablish plants and stuff like that in the United States to tap back into some of the resources that we have here to produce them here so that we don't have to ship them as far. So it's just in my opinion, a reorganization globally for, I don't know if I'd call it a one world, but I guess, sure, one world kind of like governance currency, exchangeable currency, right? Because there seems to be less and less autonomy as far as countries are concerned with their currencies. And that's the whole banking changeover. Sovereignty being eroded.
Well, yeah, there is a concern there because that world currency currently now is the United States, right? And I'm sure everyone's aware about the BRICS and what they're trying to do. So if this is a one world government, they're really they're really not on our side. If it's a one world government, they decided to ditch us and go with the East. I mean, it's quite evident to see and quite scary actually. And as far as bringing back corporations here, that's not viable. Every economist that I've seen speak about it, they just say it just can't happen because it'll more than triple the cost of prices here, and you just put a lot of the current companies that get parts from China. It'll be twice and three times of it expensive. It'll even affect that part. It's like our economies are so integrated now. It's a mess. It's a real mess. What's
Well,
going
they're
on?
starting to realize that you can drive those costs down through automation, right? Because the more you can automate, the less labor you have, right? So then labor costs becomes less relevant, and when labor costs becomes less relevant, then you can compete a lot more. But I don't, there's no favor for the East over the West. It's just a transition. It's not the only thing that's being favored from the East is that it's going to be more of an adoption of what was um, demoed in the East, as far as like the idea of like Chinese surveillance of their people and their social credit score and the way that they structure their economy and society in that way, is the only thing that we're going to really adopt there. But they have issues within their economy and country, right? To where if it was a complete, like, everything just shifts over to China, if you completely lose the vast majority of your consumption base, then what happens to their economy? Where does their money come from if no longer is there a need for the goods that they're providing to the world, right? So there's a lot of it's a very complex question that doesn't have simple answers, I guess is the best way to put that.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, they definitely
Yeah, let me get in
they
real
don't.
quick. Let me get in real quick. Once the automation hits, we'll be fine, right? We'll be fine. Those guys will be fucked. They'll be fucked.
You're gonna go now. We're gonna go into the universal income thing, right?
No, I'm just
I don't know,
saying.
man.
Napalm just laid it out, bro. It's the labor costs. That's the only reason why we can't compete, because they can have shitty work conditions. They don't have to have workman's comp. They can pay these guys 5 bowls of rice a day. Once the automation hits, that's over. There's no. They have machines doing it, and we have machines doing it. Are they going to have better machines? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, then the people, then it's a whole different question. Then what happens to the people? Why are you needed? Why should they give you universal?
That's a whole different story. I'm just saying, just as far as the thing you guys were talking about, once the automation hits, we'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll still be buying. I mean, I don't know. Napalm laid it out. Once we stop buying stuff from them, they're fucked.
No, Napalm laid it out good, but you're not foreseeing what happens after full automation. That's a whole different subject.
Then we got to hire maintenance
Because
for the
we're if
robots.
you
I mean, if we're
well,
fucked after the automation, everyone is. So I'm not, I mean, that's a whole nother story. We'll obviously have to figure something out as humanity. But when it does happen and we're not buying goods off China anymore because we could just have the robots make our own shit, we'll still be fine. We're not buying billions and zillions of dollars worth of shit off China anymore. What do they do now? They don't even need robots because we ain't even going to be buying their shit. We're just going to be making our own shit.
yeah, but that's a whole different ballgame. Once full robotization comes in, they don't need you anymore. They just need. They don't want to sell. What's there to sell? They don't need to sell anything to you. They have everything, right? Once they achieve full automation, then the robots will do everything for them. They're just going to need a few people for what? Entertainment, or to fix the robots, or why are they going to need 8 billion people for? For what?
Bro,
Don't be
SC, are you
silly.
saying that you're a roboticist?
Don't be silly. You have the robots fixing the robots, bro. Come on.
Yeah, there's that too. But I mean, there's
And
going
who
to be
fixed the
some.
robots that fixed the robots?
We
So
got
the
the
end of
robots
humanity
making
then.
the
Beep boop,
robots.
beep boop.
We got the robots making the robots. Other robots that fix robots. Other robots that polish the robots. Like, we'll be fine.
Better get your polishing skills ready, bro. That's all you're going to be needed for. And even that can have a wax on, wax off robot. You don't even need you for that. Yeah, robots is the worst thing that could happen to me, you, your family, humanity. That is the absolute worst thing that could happen to us. And it's happening already. So you
And who
remember
fixed the
yesterday I
robots
told
that
you,
makes the robots that fixed the robots that polished the robots that fixed it and made the robot?
yeah, that's a good point. Then the robots take over. But what I'm saying is, like, why, before we get to that point, think of this logically, right? Why would someone who gets a robot to replace you to do that job, why would they give you a paycheck? Think about that. Anybody in business, right? If you're in business right now and you have an employee and you pay $100,000 for a robot to replace him, are you going to still be sending paychecks to that said employee?
I hear you. I hear you. That's after the fact, though. It still stands. Napalm's point still stands. Once the automation hits, it's an even playing field now, and China's just fucked. If we're fucked, then China's fucked.
Yeah, that's my whole point. We're all in doo-doo. Humanity, not just selling goods anymore. It's not about business. It's about survival of the species.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, have you? I mean, they've tried automation, many things. They've done robot builds cars now. They still need a human perspective on fixing the issues or kind of making sure that it's actually being doing right is doing the stuff right.
I feel you. I feel you. Once we get a McDonald's automated, you're still gonna need a guy standing around to make sure the robots don't fuck up. I hear you.
Yeah.
But instead of having 10 people inside a McDonald's, you're just gonna need one.
True.
Well,
And then eventually you might not even need that guy anymore.
but if you replace, how many workers are there working right now? 100 million, whatever. If you've got 100 million robots, they'll be breaking at about 500 an hour. So you're going to have a whole workforce just fixing robots. And
Where'd you come up with that number?
I just pulled it out of my hat, which is funny because I don't even have a hat on.
Well,
How
I
many
mean,
Mc-
think about the good thing about automation. So the price goes down on a burger instead of being $2.50 now. It's going to be like 50 cents.
I mean, the automation, the automated cars, like that alone knocks like I think last time I checked, it was like 5 million Americans make money driving. So once you have the automated cars, there's 5 million people. Now, yeah, the cars are going to break, but you just have an automated tow truck come pick your car up, bring it to the shop where the robots tune your car up and call you when it's ready. Or
How are you
just
going
send
to
it
pay
out.
for it?
I guess you don't even need to call anyone. Just send it. They just send it to your house or whatever.
Who's going to do that?
Who's gonna do what?
Not
You're sitting
Canadians.
at home chilling.
That's a good one, Elbow. That was good. That was fast, quick. That was quick.
I missed that because I spoke over him. What did you say?
So not Canadian.
You said who's gonna do that?
Yeah. No, but you guys tend to go into fantasy la la land with this robot stuff. So I mean, think about it. You're disposable, bro. If somebody can do your job, you ain't getting no paycheck.
Well, that's gonna be a big issue because these guys get nervous when unemployment rate goes up 0.5%. Once it goes up to 20, 30, 40, what do you do? It's a real problem. I hear you. They probably got think tanks right now working on it. I've been working on it. I'm a one-man think tank. You know what I'm saying? I can't figure nothing out.
Man, I think the robot thing as the Elance world of developers, meaning so. I mean, I cut down the cost of developers in the company I worked by hiring offshore developers, but I still needed to make sure that all their stuff, I mean, it's pretty much they're just you can practically as a robot. They're just tell them to do this, and they're gonna do exactly what they're told, not any no add any base logic or uh how can I say explain this like they won't add more than what is needed. So you're telling them to do this, they're exactly going to do that, but you still have to come in and kind of fix their shit and put it in correctly to your main program. In other words, you have the robots are going to be able to do some stuff, but you still going to have to go there and like I said, just make sure that their shit is done correctly.
Yeah, you'll still need humans, right? You're gonna need the guy standing around Burger King. You're gonna need your guy deciding what goes where and with the nerd computer stuff. But the thing is, it's gonna get knocked down so much that you know what I'm saying. You're talking about getting rid of almost all the driving jobs. You don't need any drivers anymore. You need a tenth of the guy in the fast food industry. You know what I'm saying? Like you're knocking people out the box so quick. This is like the industrial revolution on steroids.
Dude, I had
Yeah.
70 developers at one time working for me, dude. and,
How many you
at the
got now?
cost, but like, well, we
How
were
many you
at the
got
time
now?
when I was, oh, none. I'm not with the company anymore. But at the time, that would have cost us, dude, millions.
Yeah, I mean,
7 million a year.
there's a disruption there, right? But like, it also is going to be human led, and humans need the input to understand the problems that need to be solved by the automations, right? So it, we have not, and we're not even close to coming to a point where artificial intelligence or AI has the ability to understand what a real world problem is and implement a complete across the scale solution to it, right? It doesn't logically think or see or understand unless that input is put into it, right? So there's always going to be the need, or at least certainly on the current or near horizon, for human beings to have the problem in which automation would be the solution to. The automations don't understand the problem. They just are programmed to resolve the problem or make the task more efficient. I mean, I
I
have to do
wonder.
that with my job. Today I'm having to fix automations that I've built within my job because guess what? There's certain limitations, and when the limitations are broken, or certain inputs get outside parameters, you have to make adjustments, and they don't fix themselves all the time.
I wonder if anyone's fed this problem of where the money's going to come from once all the automation hits. That'd be neat to see if AI could come up with some kind of solution to that.
The money is already being transitioned into blockchain, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying if you have like massive amounts of people unemployed, where's the money come from? Otherwise, no one's going to have money to go to McDonald's or to buy all the Amazon stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like the shit's it's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah, the monetary system is going to change considerably, right? And it's going to, you know, it's always the science fiction writers who somehow happen to predict the future. And if you notice in a lot of science fiction that many of the people don't operate off like, let me get money. What are they looking for? They're looking for credits, whether it's empire credits,
Also, you're
however
telling
you.
me it's not going to happen then, because in science fiction, mostly, at least, I mean, there's been a couple of movies, but it never ends well. So usually, Star Trek or whatnot, never seen a fully automated line. It's always just, they'll still keep it doing anything.
And come up with whether it's whatever it is. Where does it come from? You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, we're just funneling it up to Amazon, Walmart, Elon Musk, and they're just going to have it all. It doesn't even make sense to use money at that point, honestly.
It won't. It'll be task-based credits, right? If you're not participating into whatever you've been designed to participate or have your input put into to receive your digital currency in the form of quote unquote payment, if you don't have the credits, you don't receive. You want to receive, you work towards the credits.
And if you exhibit wrongthink, woe betide.
Exactly. We've just withdrawn 75% of your credits, Andy.